Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I'm going to tell you a story. In February of 1988, I was teaching a class on Bible prophecy. Afterwards, a red-headed lady came up and handed me an audio tape and said, "I think you'll be interested in this." So I began driving home and listening to it, and it was a Romanian man talking in Romanian, and there was someone that was interpreting it. This is what he said. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal revolution. Then, from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two of the countries will attack and defeat America. In one day, America will burn. Now, how are we doing on that? Well, I'm going to go to HalTurnerRadioShow.com to start off our program today. He says one of his former military intelligence buddies called him and said that the military is keenly aware of all the talk about civil war and is making actual plans. Did you hear that? Making actual plans in the event such an eventuality takes place. Here are the specifics of what he told me. Quote, "Things are expected to start sliding into a bad area after December 15th. Military intel, including various senior level commanders, fully expect things to, quote, go kinetic rather quickly after Christmas and definitely into the new year. The military has identified two likely paths. One, the Supreme Court of the United States gives Trump the win. Then, whether they void the election in the states because of the corrupted computers, I won't say the word, I'll just say corrupted computers, which results in a, quote, contingency election inside Congress, or order a new election. Either scenario is as good as a win for Trump. The Democrats, they say, will then not recognize the second vote. If Trump wins a Supreme Court case, the Democrats will call China and the UN to invade the United States as a means to overthrow Trump as a dictator." In other words, see, they don't understand the prophecies. We know that China is actually going to be on our side because the rest of the prophecy goes on to say, then God will raise up China, Japan, and many of the nations. They'll go against the Russians. They'll defeat the Russians. They'll back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty, but they make the Russians their leader. Now, we understand China's going to be on our side, but right now, I have to agree with the world, it doesn't look like it, but that's the way it's going to go. Now, go back to HalTurnerRadioShow.com. He also told me blank is already preparing for this possible outcome with forces in Mexico and Canada. Path 2. SCOTUS, or Supreme Court of the United States, tells Trump to stand down and declares Biden the next president. In this event, Trump's plan is allegedly to declare martial law and force a re-election via paper ballots, only with total military oversight. This brings us back to the first Democratic plan to then ask for help overthrowing the new American dictator Trump. While the paths are two, the outcome is still the same. We're heading for civil war, or what we call an internal revolution. This is not a prophecy student saying this, yet what he's saying is confirmed what I was told back in 1988. Now here we are some 32 years later, and it is upon us. Now let me go to another one, also HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Headline, Military Commissions Development, Something Big. This is dated December 6, 2020. The Office of Military Commissions has cleared the entire court calendar for the rest of December. So what's that mean? Well, first of all, I didn't know what the Office of Military Commissions was, and I didn't know what they did, and I didn't know anything about the court, didn't know anything about this. Well, this is what we call military tribunals. They have cleared their calendar. Why did they clear their calendar, all of their court cases? Well, he is surmising, I'll say it that way, allegedly, saying it's because they are expecting a lot of high-profile arrests. Now, let me go on with what he says. Perhaps they know there's going to be a very sudden influx of extremely high-profile cases. perhaps a huge number of defendants being charged under the Foreign Interference in U.S. Elections as co-conspirators attempting to overthrow the U.S. government via election fraud. This is totally without historic precedent. China and Iran have financed, and in the case of China, printed phony election ballots for the November 3rd U.S. election fraud, so he says. Evidence will be released. There will be consequences. One, he says there's going to be a strike on Iran. I have nothing in any of the prophecies that says we strike Iran or have any problems with Iran or not. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not. We do know that they are possibly involved with trying to kill the value of the dollar, but nothing about a war. Two, see, again, that's an advantage of being a prophecy student. That's an advantage of listening to the modern prophets. You know what to toss away and you know what to listen to. Two, China will squeal about Taiwan. Again, there's nothing in the prophets or any of the prophecies that says any problems with Taiwan or any war going to between the U.S. and China. China's going to be on our side. Three, traitors in our midst who worked with our enemies will be arrested. Well, hallelujah. It's about time. We are literally watching history unfold. Well, I'm going to say it this way. We are literally watching a 32-year-old prophecy. At least I heard it 32 years ago, but it really was spoken 40 years ago. Here we are, 40 years from when this prophecy was spoken, and now it's come to pass. Sounds like Nineveh, doesn't it? Now, one more thing. Next headline, HalTurnerRadioShow.com again. Hard proof, and I can't say that word again. Vote tabulating, I'm going to say it this way, calculating. Vote calculating machines alter vote totals and may void election in 28 states. Now, I thought this was real interesting. December 6th, 2020 again. Ware County, Georgia, has broken the algorithm, that's the computer, the vote counting computer, I'll say it that way, using a sequestered equipment, that's the equipment, the computer that tabulated them. Ware County ran an equal number of Trump votes and Biden votes through the tabulator, and the tabulator reported a 26% lead for Biden. 37 Trump votes used in the equal sample run had been switched from Trump to Biden. In actual algorithmic terms, this means that a vote for Trump actually, instead of counting 100%, counted only 87%. And a vote for Biden was not counted at 100% either, but was counted at 113% of a vote. Those conducting the test were so shocked they ran the same ballots through again. And, you guessed it, the same results appeared. One piece of the puzzle solved. Parenthesis. He says it's worth noting that this one county and on one tabulator alone. He says, however, these tabulators could have been configured with different algorithms in different counties or states. The point is that there is now hard evidence of electronic manipulation of the votes. The use of illegal and or fabricated votes is an additional issue altogether, but this is sufficient evidence to question the validity of the entire election in those 28 states that use that particular software and that software machine. In fact, it may actually serve to void the entire election in all 28 states. What's really going on? I think we are running out of time. I would like to believe that we have 2 or 3 years, maybe even 5 years. That's what I said. I'd like to believe that, but I really can't guarantee that because I told you the other night, I was watching Fox News and there came an article on there talking about what was going on in Israel, how they're working to get peace in Israel. Because just the day before, I had said on the radio, oh, well, there's nothing really happening with Israel and splitting Israel and give the Palestinians a state, so maybe the Russians are not about to attack. Maybe this is not about to happen. Well, that very night, as that article came on, and they were talking about peace in Israel, the anointing touched my head. Now, let me explain. That sounds, have you ever had somebody walk up behind you and just barely touch the hair on your head? Maybe just 1 or 2 hairs? Sometimes that's what it feels like. Sometimes it feels like a little stronger, maybe 2 hairs, 3 hairs. I mean, I could take a whole program in explaining various different anointings, the way they feel. And I wish I could tell you, well, this anointing feels that way. And when he's saying this, it feels that way. I don't know. I'm going to say probably 8 different ways I've felt him touch me. Just like, matter of fact, I'll tell you this. So this was this past Sunday morning, just before I was get up to preach. And I knelt down, as I always do. Lord, here we are again, Sunday morning. What do you want to say? Because whatever I have planned is nothing unless you fill my mouth. So what do you want to say? Give me your anointing. And normally I feel it kind of like when I was watching Fox News touch me. But this time I felt like there was a crown put on my head. And I felt that a few times, okay? Like, for example, when I was doing the debate about the rapture, when I took the pre-trib rapture position, and I knelt down to do the same prayer before I got up there, I felt a very, very strong. It was almost as if someone set a crown on my head. I mean, I could feel it all the way around. Sometimes it's like the crown is, okay, let's say it. How do I explain this? Say the crown is about 6 inches across. Sometimes it's 8 inches across. And sometimes it wraps all around my whole head, around the front of my head, the side just over my ears, all the way around the back. A really big crown. I mean, like almost like pulling on a cowboy hat. I mean, it's almost down to touching my ears. I'll say it that way. Well, it wasn't that way. This particular time, it was just like someone touches a couple of hairs on my head. But I've come to recognize that. I felt it a whole lot, for example, when I was writing the book, for example, Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, a lot there, and also Miss the Mark, and all 4 books. But I believe what he was saying is, Stan, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that there's no peace going to come to Israel anytime soon. Don't tell them that the Russian attack, the nuclear bombs hitting America, don't tell them that that's no time soon, because apparently it is soon. Now, I don't like that, but that's my job, is to point that out. Now, here's the good side of the news. As you recall, January 22, 2006, Leslie had the 7 headlines given to her that we can watch for that are the headlines of the fall of America. And none of these have come to pass yet. So I know that we still have some time. I'll quickly read through them, but that's not my point today. But I just want to read through them every time I can. Hopefully you have these written down, which, by the way, they're in the book, God's Final Warning for America, which is available at Prophecy Club. That and Dimitri's testimony, all his dreams and visions, and Maurice Sklar and all these other guys, all in that book. And you must have the book. As a matter of fact, since I'm on that, I may as well say there's actually a 5-book offer up there where you get like 5 books for, I think it's 40 books for $100. I think it's the best offer we've ever had. 40 books for $100, all brand new books, the latest books we've written. So go at prophecyclub.com, check that out. All right, now the headlines. This is the order she was given them. Israel refuses help to America. Catastrophe hits America. Omar ushers in Palestinian state. One of America's greatest times of need. Israel has attacked America, sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Duduman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Now, we haven't seen any of those come to pass yet, so that's good news. Now, back to the point I'm trying to make. Here we are, 32 years after I heard that, and we're seeing it come to pass. I can remember times when I looked at the ceiling, and this is long before I was ever in the ministry, okay? I looked at the ceiling and I said, Lord, how? I know there's going to be an internal revolution, but how? I just can't see, because America is so peaceful, and I just don't see how there's ever going to be an internal revolution. Who would have ever thought it's over the election of the president, when one side cheats and the other side has actually won, and because the popularity of the Republican president, the people rise up and say, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. I'm going to take this to court. I'm going to fight. I'm going to hold the fort. I'm going to toe the line. I'm going to fight. And as a result, they decided they were going to take over and kick the bad guys out. And the bad guys say, okay, we've ruled this world for 2,000 years, and we're going to destroy it rather than give it up. And they just happen to have suitcase nukes and enough power to back up their words, and they're not kidding. So here we are today. All right, now, let me get on to the next topic I want to mention. I recommend you go to youtube.com/Prophecy Club. That's our channel. Sunday night, Leslie and I got up and shared our heart. We didn't know exactly what was going to come out. We kind of had a brief, kind of an overview, but we didn't know exactly. But we prayed that God would fill our mouth, and boy, did He. Everybody there was just amazed. I mean, they thought it was just an awesome meeting. I recommend you go up there and listen to it. What's it talking about? I think it is really, really and truly, it's giving us the key. Now let's talk about you for just a minute. You listening to the Prophecy Club, surely you know by now, it's not an accident. It's not a curiosity. God has called you to listen to this ministry, and perhaps others, because He's preparing you. He's preparing you to be one of those people that is not afraid, not biting their nails, not looking up into the sky saying the sky is falling, but instead you're going to be there giving answers, encouraging. You're going to be there teaching Bible prophecy, walking in sevenfold miracles. You're going to be there as a help, my brothers and sisters. So since you are a part of this, now let me tell you what happened. This is part of what I covered Sunday night. I'd recommend you go and listen to it. So it was October the 7th, 2020. Prophet Andre Bronkhorst spoke at Spirit of Prophecy Church. Talked for probably 30 minutes, and probably most of the people in there didn't catch the two things that I caught. But these were directed at me. And in that they're directed at me, they're directed at you. That is, if your heart is with us, if you want to win souls in sports stadiums, if you want to see the kingdom of God built more than your own kingdom, then you're with us. Then it's speaking to you too. So anyway, he says, I see a church, and it looks like a church building. Well, nobody knew, but that was speaking to me because that was one of my big questions, because our office in Topeka, Kansas is really a warehouse. In a warehouse district, it doesn't look like a church. You drive by it, you wouldn't think that's church unless you see the sign. But it was on my heart. When I get an office building here in Topeka, do I get one that looks like a warehouse, or do I get one that looks like a church? Well, that answered it. He said, I see a church and it looks like a church building. So that answered a very big question. Then he went on to say, the next other thing that really stuck with me, he says, I'll give you the church, feed my lambs. In other words, I'll give you the church if you'll feed my lambs. Now let's talk about that, because that's my heart, is to feed the lambs. And I believe that's your heart. Some of you are lambs that need feeding. Some of you are in various stages where you're needing feeding on some things. You also need to feed on others. Some of you are flocked lambs. Some of you are wandering lambs. That's a new term I just come up with. I thought that was pretty good. Flocked lamb. Are you a flocked lamb, or are you a wandering lamb? Are you a lost sheep, or are you a flocked sheep? Meaning, if you're flocked, you're part of something. You're not just, kind of catch as catch can. Yeah, I catch Prophecy Club from time to time. I go to Spirit of Prophecy Church from time to time. I toss in a donation from time to time. But instead, you're with them. So when God goes handing out all of the blessings from all of the souls that Prophecy Club, Spirit of Prophecy gets, you're on the list. And it's not just about money. It's about heart. If you're a flocked sheep, if you're a flocked lamb, that means you're part of a flock. That means you're part of a team. It means that you're, can you imagine a military team going out and just everybody just say, okay, well, go shoot somebody? Well, they would probably die pretty quick, because you got to stick together. You got to have a plan. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need a couple of things. If we're going to go to the sports stadiums, we need a building. What will we do with the building? Well, I can tell you right now, if I had a building where I could walk in already prepared, already the lights are all set, I had a green screen, all the cameras all set up every day where I could go in, all of a sudden the radio program will not be a radio program anymore. Every day it would be a TV program. And if we're doing a professional lighted TV program every day, that also means that it wouldn't necessarily have to just stay on radio or internet. There's lots of places out there to place a TV program. That means we can reach more people. So having our own building, I don't even have an office, okay? I work out of my home. Like I said to somebody the other day, well, my office is 8 steps from my bed, and the advantage to having my office in my home is it's 8 steps from my bed. And the disadvantage is it's 8 steps from my bed. means that sometimes on Thanksgiving, Leslie says, you need to go do something. So on Thanksgiving, I have to turn on my computer and do something. Then, of course, I'm able to do some things that I would normally do. But the point is, we need an office. We need an office here in the DFW area. Second thing, and this is for you, if we're going to feed you, we need a place to feed you. In other words, we need a place to be able to call people in to do the Sevenfold Miracle Crusades, to do the School of the Prophets, to have meetings where I'm teaching Bible prophecy, maybe like teaching through Revelation and things like that, deliverance meetings and various other things, all kinds of things we can do that right now we really can't do. Okay, so what's the plan to get there? Well, yes, it's true. We have a paid-off building up in Topeka, Kansas that has been on the market now for over a year. And yes, it's true. We've had one couple come through there 3 times. The last time they were taking pictures and measuring things, but we haven't got an offer on it yet. Now, if we get that sold, that would go a long way towards a down payment on a building. But a few months ago, I talked to some various lending organizations, including a bank, and I asked them, what do we got to do to get a loan for a new building? Guess what? One of the first questions they asked was, they said, how many members do you have? And of course, there was a long pause. Because in my resistance to resist being a mainline denominational church, 501c3 and all that other sort of stuff, I haven't really pushed membership at all. But the banks, just about everybody else, that's what they look at. How many members do you have? And so I kind of paused. I said, what do you mean members? And the guy says, I mean giving units. He said, see, the way a bank looks at a loan is this. They want to look and see how many giving units or how many members you have, how each one of those have made a commitment to give monthly or to give annually or something like that. That way, they know the capability of that loan being paid back. And he said, if you have a nice stack of those papers where people are saying, I'm standing with you, I'm willing to give so much a month, which is about so much a year. If you have that, he said, that is proof for a loan. He said, to a bank, those are golden. Well, all of a sudden I could see, man, I had really missed it. I've missed it sometimes because I was trying to do the right thing, trying to stay away from the pre-trib 501c3 NIV normal church. But I guess I've come to realize that in some ways, some of the things the normal churches do are good. So here's what we're asking. I've set a goal to have at least 100 members by the end of the year, and I think that's very doable. We had a meeting Sunday night, got about 20 people signed up from the meeting, and about 20 people that were online signed up, so we've got about 40. But I need about 100 at least by the end of December, but that's not going to be enough. I haven't asked the bank, what our total giving needs to be, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be around 1.2 million total. Now, don't let that shake you. Actually, I was kind of encouraged by that because let's take a family that, say, makes $50,000 a year. Probably many of the families make more, some make less, but let's do that just as an average, just as a ballpark to kind of grab onto a figure. So let's say they make $50,000, and let's say they say, yep, I'm going to give all 10% to Spirit of Prophecy Church Prophecy Club. That would be $5,000. Let's say we have 100 of them. Well, that's not $50,000. That's $500,000, roughly. Okay, roughly. Now, I don't know how much loan that would get. Probably for the building we need, because my realtor, in talking to her, she says, well, when I call these churches and I tell them that we have a pastor and his family in this church looking for another building, they always ask me, do they have a pre-approved loan? And if you don't have a pre-approved loan, they don't even want you to come in and look at their church. So first thing we have to have is a pre-approved loan. So probably for the church building, for the property we need, based upon talking to the realtor, we're probably talking in the $2 to $3 million ballpark. Probably we're talking we need to be around 1 million to 1.2 million commitments a year. Okay, so what's that? That's probably only 200, 300 members. That's not bad at all. We can do that. I mean, I don't know how many people listen to us on theprophecyclub.com or how many people listen to us on iTunes, but I do know that we have about 80,000 subscribers on YouTube. So coming up with 300 members, I don't think that should be a problem. Then what we can do is take those papers to the bank. We can get a loan. We can get a nice building so that you can come in for Sevenfold Miracle Crusade, School of the Prophets, Prophecy Club meetings right here in the DFW area. Fly in, do a 2 or 3 day meeting, and we can do that. Well, we're thinking like probably every other month, maybe even as soon as once a month. But it all starts with membership. Now, how do you become a member? And what does it mean to become a member? Well, yes, there is a place on there where you put down, here's what I'm willing to, and by the way, I'm not going to use the word commit. Okay, it's simply, this is my intention. I'm using the word intention. I intend to give so much a month. I intend to give so much a year. But I also say on there, it's as the Lord provides. In other words, if you have a real good year, great, you can do it. This is what I expect to do. This is my intention. And then on the other hand, if things fall apart, I can't do that, then nobody's going to send you a bill. No one's going to call you and say, hey, you didn't do this. Okay, none of that. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to look at who gave what. Why? Because it's none of my business. It's between you and God. But by you joining Prophecy Club, Spirit of Prophecy Church, by you joining us and you filling out this paper, I'll tell you where to go in just a second, you doing this, even if you never sent a dime, and I believe you will, I believe you'll stand by it, but even if you didn't, by you doing that, that helps us to take that to the bank and say, here we go. We now have 100 or 300 members. We now have such and such commitment, and we'll probably get a loan. In other words, you joining and becoming a member of the Spirit of Prophecy Church and the Prophecy Club, it's all one unit, you're going to not only help you by having meetings more often, having better programs, and there's going to be a lot of things we're going to be able to bring you to, but also you're going to help us get this building so we can start doing the things we need to do. And the most important thing there is sports stadiums, because Spirit of Prophecy Church can't go to sports stadiums without Prophecy Club. On the other hand, Prophecy Club can't go to sports stadiums without the Spirit of Prophecy Church. It takes both of them, which is one of the reasons very few churches ever do something like that, because typical church is just not set up to do that. Whereas God has placed us in a position so that when we have this building, we get enough people trained. I'm talking about trained for the sports stadiums and everything else, all the things we need to do, we can start marching towards sports stadiums. Now, how much time do we have? We probably should have been doing this 9 months to a year ago, because as you know, the miracle is about to arrive, and that means the sports stadiums are right around the corner. So we're running out of time. So what do? Here's what you do. Go to spiritofprophecychurch.com or prophecyclub.com and click on membership. You go in and fill that out, and wow, will that help us? Boy, we can take that to the bank, get a loan, and we can have a new building. You can help us to get a new building by your membership, by joining our vision to win souls. I just checked with the office, and we are almost out of Berkeys. We've got like 10 left, and Berkeys have said we aren't going to be able to get any more for the rest of this year. So if you want a water filter, then you need to call 785-266-1112 immediately. 785-266-1112. Because I can tell you that just because I mentioned this on the radio, they will not last long. They'll be gone within a few days. 785-266-1112 for a Berkey water filter. When a nuclear device goes off, it produces an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, and it fries every computer chip unless they're protected. The good news is EMPshield.com has devices a military testing facility says are 100% accurate to protect against EMP, solar flares, lightning, power surges, backed by a 10-year warranty and a $25,000 insurance policy. And they come with simple installation instructions for home, vehicles, RV, and electric generators. You can have electricity in a blackout. EMPshield.com. Use the promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. This helps Prophecy Club. That's EMPshield.com, promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. EMPshield.com. EMPshield.com. Click like, share, and subscribe.